Well, we want to turn now to the latest fallout from what you could call one big, not so beautiful breakup between President Trump and Elon Musk after Mr. Musk criticized the price tag of the president's agenda in Congress, leading to an explosive and very public feud that quickly devolved into a brawl over power and influence and threats of government and political retaliation. Despite some rumblings, the two would get on the phone to patch things up today. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles tells me there are no plans for that today. And a senior White House official tells me, my colleague Jonathan Allen, that the president is not interested in a call with Mr. Musk. The situation escalated in the Oval Office yesterday, where President Trump responded to Mr. Musk's criticism of his bill in Congress, accusing the world's richest man of being blinded by his bottom line and saying their relationship may, in fact, be over.
Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and which was a lot of money for electric vehicles, and they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. People leave my administration and they love us. And then at some point they miss it so badly. And some of them embrace it and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Now, Mr. Musk responded in bulk, using his social media platform to attack the president and Republican leaders, to accuse President Trump of being ungrateful for his 2024 support, floating impeachment, and highlighting the president's past association with deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. On his own social media platform, the president said Mr. Musk, quote, just went crazy and threatened to suspend all government contracts with Musk, whose sprawling technological empire is intertwined with the U.S. government and military. It is a stunning fallout just 1 week after President Trump presented Mr. Musk with a golden key to the Oval Office. Today, sources tell NBC News the president is considering selling that red Tesla he purchased at a White House event earlier this year. The feud has put Republicans in a bind as the Senate is expected to make changes to the president's mega bill that will need to be approved by both chambers. Republican House Majority Leader Steve Scalise insisting today that Musk's opposition will not have an impact on the bill's support in his conference.
We're more united than we ever have been behind President Trump's agenda, getting it done on his desk by July 4th. It's a free country. It's free speech. But at the end of the day, we're going to pass this bill, and he's going to be proven wrong because he's made statements about the bill that just are not accurate.
Joining me now with the very latest on this feud and what it means is NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake. Also with us on Capitol Hill is NBC News senior national reporter Sahil Kapur and Leah Geiger, senior politics editor at Wired, where she has been covering Elon Musk's foray into Washington. Garrett, I have to start with you. Take me behind the scenes there at the White House. What are sources telling you about the state of this feud?
Well, Kristen, aides were scrambling all day long yesterday to come up with a strategy which was put in place today and seems to be to deprive this feud of any additional oxygen. And the president took some phone calls this morning from reporters in which he continued to disparage Musk a little bit, saying that he had lost it or that, he essentially felt bad for Musk in some capacity. But beyond that, he was pretty quiet about this today. He used his own social media platform to talk about the economy, to talk about his plans to build a ballroom here on the White House campus. And then, of course, there was this massive announcement this afternoon from the Justice Department, all of which pushed the Musk news down. The president had 3 events on his calendar today in which he could have chosen to speak to reporters. 2 of them remained closed press. On the 3rd, his walk to the helicopter a short time ago, he simply turned and waved. I think their hope is that by depriving this of attention for the moment, they might be able to patch things up behind the scenes and at least try to move on without this bill in particular being too badly damaged.
Garrett, one of the notable aspects of this explosive online feud were the threats that both of these men lobbed at each other, including President Trump saying he might pull government contracts from Elon Musk's companies. Of course, close ally to the president, Steve Bannon, calling for actual investigations into Elon Musk. Do you get the sense that any of those steps are going to be taken, or is that just bluster right now, Garrett?
Well, we're certainly not there yet. Musk today was more conciliatory on social media. He chose not to escalate. I mean, how many times, Kristen, have we heard President Trump talk about himself as a counterpuncher. There was nothing to counterpunch at today. And so I think as long as that remains the case, it probably won't go that far. On the idea of pulling government contracts, though, talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. SpaceX, for all intents and purposes, is the United States space program right now. And the Starlink internet service is integrated all across the country. It's integrated in airlines. It was intended to be integrated into the air traffic control system. And it's global now in a way that if the U.S. wants to get out of business with Starlink, that might hurt the U.S. as much as it hurts Elon Musk. And so I don't think we're at that kind of mutually assured destruction stage of the game yet. But, you know, it's what, day 2 of this?
Just getting going, right, Garrett? Sahil, let me head over to you on Capitol Hill. Look, I think the big question that everyone has, and quite frankly, the question that impacts everyone across the country is, could this complicate the passage of President Trump's, what he has dubbed the so-called big, beautiful bill? Do you get the sense that he could bring down that legislation with his opposition?
Complicate, yes, Kristen. Bring down the bill, I have my doubts. This piece of legislation has 99 problems, and Elon Musk is just one of them. What he's doing is calling out the doublespeak of Republicans who say the debt is the priority, we must bring down the debt, yet here's a bill that adds more than $2 trillion to the debt. Most Republicans, including party leaders, have said, let's use this alternate scoring mechanism that treats the tax cuts as being permanent in the out years and not count that as adding to the debt. And Elon Musk says essentially that's a bunch of hogwash and that Republicans are failing to meet their own standards to make good on their own promises. Now, all of this is energizing the far-right conservatives who want to cut deeper into the budget, who are now pointing to Elon Musk and saying, hey, we support this bill, but he has a point, and it's driving the energy further in the direction of shrinking spending. On the flip side, there are politically vulnerable House Republicans who are getting nervous about the existing cuts in the bill, including to clean energy funding, including to electric vehicle tax credits, which, by the way, Elon Musk insists he's all in favor of repealing, regardless of what it would do to Tesla. Now, all of that said, Kristen, at least one hard-right Republican is saying, why can't these two men just figure out a way to get along? Take a listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I don't think lashing out on the internet is the way to handle any kind of disagreement, especially when you have each other's cell phones. So I hope this gets worked out. But I will tell you right now that people are going to be focused on making sure that we get the agenda that we voted for, and that's President Trump's agenda.
That's a little glimpse, Kristen, into where the Republican Party is today. Marjorie Taylor Greene stepping up to be the voice of reason, pleading with the President of the United States and the world's richest man to get offline to try to sort out their problems like adults.
It is an extraordinary state of play right now, Sahil, that's for sure. Leah, let me go to you. You're our Elon Musk whisperer. He sent out so many posts yesterday, and what struck me is that he got personal pretty quickly. How far do you think he's willing to go here?
You know, it's really tough to say at this point. It doesn't appear that he has a lot to lose, at least in his point of view. He has a lot of government contracts. Like Garrett said, his SpaceX is such a massive part of government infrastructure at the moment, Starlink as well. But the messages that he was sending out yesterday were of someone who doesn't really seem to care. So the fact that he's been a little bit quieter today, maybe that means that things might be changing. But I think it might be a bit of an interesting weekend.
To the extent that you can, Leah, take us inside Elon Musk's thinking. Do you think he perceives in this moment he has something to lose? We, of course, all saw what happened to Tesla's stock yesterday. It dropped 14%. It's up again today, but that was pretty significant.
It did. It definitely did. And Wired has been reporting that he's already lost billions and billions of dollars in the last 24 hours alone because of this. And it's less, I guess, of what does he have to lose and more of does he care if he loses it? He's really digging down on the big, beautiful bill. He's been this massive promoter of his so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, over the last couple of months. And this appears to be a sticking point for him. Do I envision him going on Joe Rogan with Donald Trump at some point as a little apology, we're friends again tour? I don't really know if I think so right now, but we'll see.
It's just fascinating, particularly given that White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles says no plans for these two to speak today. But in talking to folks behind the scenes at the White House, Leah, there is a real sense that they want to de-escalate, that they want to find an off-ramp here. Is Elon Musk someone who digs in fights like this?
Oh, absolutely. And in some ways, the question is almost less what Elon is going to do here, but more about what Republican operatives and those in Trump world will do instead. We've been reporting that advisors that have been working with Republican candidates have actually been telling their candidates to distance themselves from Musk for some time. And so I'm very curious how this is going to play out.
Yeah, we all are. Garrett, let me give the final word to you. Any sense of how this plays out? How does this end? Where is the off-ramp?
Well, look, the red Tesla is still parked just outside the West Wing, and we know that the president has been teasing the idea that he'd get rid of that if things go much further. That's going to be my barometer for how far this goes. Look, Donald Trump doesn't like to back down in these fights unless he thinks it's on a winning term here. So whether either Musk comes to heel or this bill passes, I think that's the only way this ends with them still friends. But earlier in this segment, Kristen, you invoked the name Steve Bannon. It wasn't all that long ago that Steve Bannon was, unceremoniously thrown out of the White House in a similarly bruising public falling out. He still retains the president's ear and counsel so many years later. That's probably where this ends long term.
It will be fascinating to see what happens next and all of the twists and turns in between. Great conversation. Garrett, Sahil, and Leah, thank you so much.